Welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of education. The Teacher's Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are here to talk about a movie I guarantee you'd not heard of before I recommended it last week.
Yeah, no.
We are here to talk about the 1990 horror-esque movie, Frankenhooker. Frankenhooker. No, there are absolutely no scary parts in this movie.
No.
But it's built on the Frankenstein mythos, so there's a lot of explosions and cheap gore, and I don't know. This movie, I got a soft spot in my heart for it.
It was fun.
This movie is directed by Frank Henenlotter, who really has he's got a background in like just weird, quirky 80s, early 90s horror films. But they're all like cult followings. He had a series in the 80s called Basket Case. He directed the first two. No, I guess he directed all three. There's three of them. Directed all three of them. Wrote all three of them. Basket Case is another one of those just really weird stories. You've got a brother who's always carrying around this basket case. Well, it's his deformed conjoined twin, Belial, and he just has to keep him happy. But there's three of them. And then he directed another movie called Brain Damage, where there's a guy with a talking parasite that injects him with a fluid that gives him these hallucinations, but in order to keep getting the injections from this parasite, he has to allow the parasite to feed on other people's brains.
Okay.
And it's just dumb, but there's so much heart in them. And this movie's really no different. This movie's got you could tell everybody on this crew is trying their absolute best. Mm-hmm. And are they worried about making a good movie? No, they're just worried about making a movie.
Yeah.
And that's what they got.
They're there to have fun.
So, again, built around the Frankenstein mythology, we have our main character, Jeffrey Franken. Get it? Get it? Who lives in New York, works at a power plant. He's a garage scientist. He's working on, bioelectricity, which, of course, bio means life. Electricity. It's what by Frankenstein. There's no subtlety in this movie at all. He's about to get married to his fiancée Elizabeth, and at a birthday party for her dad, Jeffrey gives his future father-in-law an automatic lawnmower as a gift. Elizabeth tries to show it off, and she gets caught in the path, and the lawnmower mows her over.
Honestly, though, that would be like the best gift to get. Not your kid getting run over by a lawnmower, but like the automatic lawnmower. When I drive by, I think it's Spoon River Electric in Canton, and I see theirs, I'm like, that would be so nice to have.
It would be. It definitely would be. There's electric lawnmowers out there that don't even have a blade. They have a spinning laser, and it laser cuts.
That is awesome.
It just laser cuts the grass, so everything is uniform, and then the grass clipping just drops. They're not cheap. They're not cheap.
No, that's why I don't have one.
You're not picking one of those up at Farm King. Uh-huh. So naturally, Jeffrey's in grief.
Yeah, he's just grieving a little bit different than everyone else.
A little bit. The only remaining body part left of Elizabeth is her head. Now
she's got like a hand.
That
he salvaged.
Yeah. But there's not much. This lawnmower did a very good job, very clean cuts. We've already seen Jeffrey. The movie actually kicks off with him in his garage. He has this gigantic brain in a jar with like an eyeball that he's like keeping alive. And it's like just to show you. But of course, it's extremely cheesy looking, prop effect. But whatever, it's fun. So Jeffrey is mourning. And he is sad, and he decides he's going to use his knowledge and rebuild Elizabeth.
Yes, because
the problem is he doesn't have, all he has is, like you said, a head and just maybe a few other body parts. You know, he does so. I mean, he's really fallen off the deep end.
He admits that too. Like, he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm going crazy. I'm not stable.
Like, to calm himself down, he, you know, takes a power drill to like his spinal cord. Like, it's just, it's just for shock value. And it's, again, it's not like, he doesn't even bleed. Like, that's how cheesy it is.
Like,
he's
there's
drilling
no hole.
No hole, no blood. But whatever, we see it and it's fun. But he comes up with an idea. What's his idea, Courtney?
He's going to head out to the red light district and buy some body parts to build Elizabeth.
Yeah, he lives in New Jersey, so he's going to New York.
Yeah, yes.
Because there's women there.
Yeah, and he can buy them and no one will miss them.
Yeah, so basically his plan is, I'm going to go hire prostitutes, kill the prostitutes, and steal their body parts to rebuild my girlfriend.
And he makes like some monster like meth type thing. And his, you know, I mean, it's going to kill him because he's like, technically I didn't kill him.
Right.
The drugs did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I forgot that part. He's basically going to OD him.
Yeah. So he heads out. He meets their pimp Zorro,
who's just a massive human being.
Yeah. And he's like, let me find, you know, let me have your best girls and let me have them for a little bit.
Yeah. And he tricks Zorro into renting him every single girl.
Yeah.
Like all of the girls for one night.
Yeah. Just one night.
Yeah. And he's for all intents and purposes, he's pretty classy about it.
Yeah.
I mean, you would figure here's a guy from another state that's with every prostitute in the stable.
Yeah.
And there's nothing sexual about it.
Right.
Like,
and it is.
Nothing at all.
It's kind of funny. It's, you know, like you see in some of those movies, like the Bangy gets at the popular. Like, he's just like measuring them. You know, he's the doctor.
Oh, yeah. He's examining them and he's sizing them up because, again, they are there for fun. He's there for research.
Yeah. And finally, like, the main lady is like, you know what? It's time to go. Like, Zorro gave you 30 minutes. You got to pick your girl. Well, she opens up the bag that he had his money and crack in.
Yeah, the super crack.
She pulls out this big old bag of super crack and she's like, girls, it's a party now.
Yeah, and then they all like renew their interest in Jeffrey.
Yes.
And get all loaded up on this crack.
And then explode.
Yeah, like you said, he's not killing people.
No.
And so his plan does work.
Yes.
Every prostitute in the room blows up in their own little individual scene. Their own individual special effect. It is very cheesy and corny, but it's still it's just heartwarming and fun. Like, you can tell they're having a blast making this movie. You know, you're not looking at like a Julia Roberts who's working way below her pay grade.
Correct.
It's a bunch of people. Actually, I had read in the trivia that a lot of the women in this scene, most of the women in this scene, were New York prostitutes.
Okay.
Like when they were scouring locations, there were a lot of them, and they're like, "You girls want to be in a movie?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." So, they all die, and Zorro comes rushing in to the room because, again, it's chaos from the outside. He gets knocked out. One of the flying heads of the girls headbutts him.
For no bigger than he is, it must have hit him just right.
Yeah. Jeffrey, he does what he set out to do. He collects as many body parts as he can and takes them back to his garage.
Yeah. And I just like it because, like, I don't know, it's just funny to me. He really is like building the perfect girl. Like at one point, when he's measuring the legs.
Oh, yeah.
He's, putting check marks on their butt cheeks. And then like for the breast, he's like holding them like, this one's not soft enough. And tosses it to the side.
Everything is so
the
scientific.
The buoyancy's great here.
Yeah, it is a fun scene watching him be just the juxtaposition of all of these like nude female body parts mixed in with this like examination type. So yeah, Jeffrey, he's taking notes and he's charting it out, and it's like he's doing his research to build the perfect body. And he does. He builds her out, and then does the old Frankenstein, put her on a lift, send her up on a cloudy, stormy night, and get her shocked. And it was comical, though, because he's just in his garage. And I love how the inside of the garage is so much bigger than the outside of the garage. Including the like hydraulic lift that he takes her up out of the ceiling with, that goes like 4 times higher than the roof of the garage. But so she gets shocked, brings her down, and she's brought back to life. But the funny part is that because the majority of her body is made of prostitute parts, I love the discoloration. Her face is like bright white. Like her breasts are purple. She has like one forearm that's black, like, because she's made up of all these parts of all these different women. But because the majority of her body is made of prostitute parts, the only thing that she can say is basically all the phrases the prostitutes were spitting out.
Like, are you lonely? Do you have money? You want a date?
Looking for a good time? Jersey boys looking for fun. It's just all the stuff that they've said before, which is, I thought, was just a really like fun character piece for this Elizabeth character to be like, well, she is mostly prostitute, so she's going to try and sell herself. Knocks Jeffrey out and hits the streets because that's what she does. Makes it back to New York rather quickly.
Extremely.
Walking, and heads back to her old turf as she's looking for customers. Comes across this
adorable little man,
just this kind of mole-ish looking guy that is so excited that somebody's taking him up on his offer. And they go upstairs, and she says something about doctor boy or whatever, referring to Jeffrey. So he's like, let's play doctor. Well, anyway, she's way too much woman for him. And it ends up like he ends up exploding because she's electrified. And this poor guy ends up blowing up. Not before his severed head says something along the lines of,
that was great.
Something
like that. And like he's just like his eyes start to roll back. And it's just so funny. Like it's something like that.
Yeah, you had a really good time. Jeffrey wakes up in his garage, realizes she's gone, and goes back after her because apparently he knows. Thankfully for the plot, he knows exactly where she's going. So he heads back to the territory, and Elizabeth just again wanders into this bar. This one guy starts flirting with her, and of course she, being prostitute body, is still trying to sell herself. Well, it turns out Zorro's in this bar. And she mentions his name at one point, which really kind of gets his interest as he's watching her from the other side of like the beaded curtain, and he recognizes a lot of these body parts,
right? Because he had like tatted his name, like branded himself on his hookers.
And so they get in a fight, and he punches her in the face so hard. Again, she's just stitched up that her head mostly detaches and just falls backward, and we see electricity or whatever. Jeffrey shows up and takes Elizabeth home.
He's gonna fix her up. So now he like almost like big old staple.
He's like staples her head to her body.
Then he wakes her up again, and now it's Elizabeth.
She's got her memory back.
She's so impressed that Jeffrey brought her back, and he does make sure to let her know, like, this is estrogen based. Like, it is female only.
It's a nice little throw in there because it does come up later.
And he just explains to her, like, she was decapitated, blah, blah, blah. They move on. And Zorro shows up.
Because Zorro knows where he lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, you're coming with me because this body belongs to me. And meanwhile, in his deep freeze with the purple goo, where he is keeping all of the other hooker parts,
right, the remainder of the bodies,
it starts bubbling up.
Yeah.
And they crawl out.
Well, not yet. Because Zorro decapitates Jeffrey.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that.
Grabs a machete, because they're in a garage, grabs a machete, and chops Jeffrey's head off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then now the bubbling body parts, like the deep freeze turns on its side and all these parts come crawling out.
Yeah, and they're creepy.
They're pretty grotesque. Yeah, they really are.
They've like molded together.
Yeah,
like,
you've got
a butt cheek on the back of a head connected to a leg and an arm crawling around.
You've got like an upside down woman's chest with like a mouth coming out of the abdomen, but like above it, like almost like a periscope.
Yeah, and they're like attacking Zorro. Yeah, like, grabbing him, like pulling him down, kissing him. Yeah. It's just
because they're prostitutes.
Yeah,
so that's what they do. So Zorro gets dragged into that chest.
Yeah, and along with his drugs.
Yes.
And Elizabeth finds Jeffrey's notes, and she's like, you know what? We're gonna bring Jeffrey back because they're gonna live happily ever after.
Yeah, like it was again not subtle as Jeffrey. You know, she's like, "How'd you do it?" Oh, there's very detailed plans right over there.
Yeah, but it's only for women.
Yeah, it's estrogen based.
So we see Jeffrey come back to life, and
just his head at first.
Yeah, and he's like, "Wow, how'd you do it?" And she's like, "Well, Jeffrey, you left very good notes,
right over there, like you said."
And he starts like feeling himself, and he's got a great body now.
He does. Camera pans back, and it's like, "Whoa!" Like, why'd you keep all the good parts for yourself?
Like that should have been your fiance's body.
Yeah, like you could have really decked Elizabeth out here.
I know. And then you kind of flash to a camera, and he's got a girl's body. Yeah, because it's estrogen based.
He's like feeling himself, and of course it's because the special effects are kind of hokey and cheap. You could tell obviously it's a fake body,
right?
And he's standing like with just his head poking out of a hole, so he can't really look down at his body.
Yeah.
So he's just feeling it, and of course, so now you've got basically this Frankenstein couple that are completely made of prostitute parts.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth's like, we'll be happy together forever. And Jeffrey's moaning because he's upset that he's in this, this woman's body. So, and that's it. I mean, I know it seems like we rushed through this. This movie's not even an hour and a half long.
Yeah, it's an easy watch.
It stays right on track. Like everything it does keeps moving the story along. It's just a good time. It's certainly not like you need to watch this if you're a horror completist, but it's a fun, like, hey, I watched this movie once, and it's, I tell you what, this movie is probably more memorable than some of the really good movies we've watched that we just can't remember what they are. So that's 1990s Frankenhooker. One of my memories growing up is the box art of this. Again, I grew up in the VHS era with video stores. And because of the size of a VHS tape, video stores were sprawling places.
Yeah.
You couldn't just turn it sideways. You really needed to showcase the cover. And one thing that made this box stand out, this VHS box stand out, was there was a on the cover is Elizabeth and her Frankenhooker body coming up out of a New York subway, and she's got bolts on her neck. Well, on the box, the bolts were replaced with light bulbs, and there was a button on the front of the box that if you pressed it, then it would light up red.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's super cheesy and dumb, but man, do I remember that. I think every time, I didn't know what a hooker was.
Right.
And I really wasn't even, like, I probably wasn't even tied in on the, the Franken part of things, but it was an interactive box. And for me, that was enough. I remember this movie come out when I was 11, 10 or 11. So I was at that age where I'm like, here's a, not a nude girl, but here's a bikini clad girl and I can interact with the box. Like, let's do it. And so I vividly remember that box being at the video store. Could almost, if you knew what video store I was referencing, which I know you don't, I could even tell you where it was on the shelf, just because it was accessible. Like, it was just, you go in and it was, and it's like, I know they only have one copy, but that light never burned out. Like, the battery always worked. So that's Frankenhooker. Let's grade this thing.
Okay. I'm going to give this like a B-, just because it was such an easy to watch movie.
Yes. Yeah. B-. That's fair. I'm going to go with a B, just because I've said it before and I'll say it again. I really enjoy it when somebody gets an opportunity to make the movie they want to make.
Yeah.
They're not trying to win awards. They're not trying to make a ton of money. They were given an opportunity, and everything that they visualized is on screen. Great quality or not, it's all there. And there's just something about that when a filmmaker gets a chance to make the movie they want. Like, you could tell no studio had their hands on this movie.
No.
Warner Brothers weren't trying to direct which way it's going, and so this was just a guy, a camera, and a crew, and it's like, let's make this movie, guys. And they're like, okay, and they did it. It's just a goofy, fun movie, and I really like it. So it's getting a B from me. We're at that part of the show, and this is one of my favorite parts. I say it every time, where we get to find out what you want to watch next.
Yes. I am bringing to the table 1999. It's a horror mystery, and I've seen it.
Okay.
But I just remember, like, this is one of the first, like, quote unquote scary movies that I had ever seen.
Okay.
And it just, I don't want to say it scarred me, but it did kind of scar me as a child.
It stuck with you, yeah.
The Sixth Sense.
Oh, excellent movie. I was wondering where you were going.
I remember I used to be scared to walk into the kitchen if my mom's back was facing me. And I was like, Mom, like, I would say Mom before I would walk in.
I will say that is the scariest part of this movie for me as well.
I don't remember a lot from it, but I remember that.
when he's peeing and you see his mom, you see a body walk by behind him, and then he goes and peeks at the kitchen, and she's at the cupboard, and then my skin's crawling just talking about it. It was, she turns around and comes right at him. Oh, I'm right there with you, right there with you. This would be our third M. Night Shyamalan, I believe, because we covered The Visit. Where the kids went and saw the fake grandparents, and then of course Signs.
Yes. Echoes.
No, that's not Shyamalan. That came out about the same time as this movie, so they get like Stir of Echoes gets overshadowed because of The Sixth Sense, because there's a little bit of parallel storyline there. But yeah, this definitely it's a great movie. I'm excited. I haven't seen this in quite a while.
I haven't either.
I think my wife will watch it with me too, which is always nice. So yeah, nominated for 6 Academy Awards, which is very rare for horror films. But yeah, good pick. We're gonna watch 1999's The Sixth Sense, and then we hit Shuffle Week, and then I've already got my pick for the next one. So I'm ready to go. Well, that's great. Yeah, we got Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, the always excellent Toni Collette, former New Kid on the Block, Donnie Wahlberg is in this movie. Misha Barton. Yeah, good pick. Very excited to watch this. Social media wise, you guys can find us Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. There is a LinkedIn account that we don't keep up as well as we should. But whatever, you're not here for the LinkedIn access. And I keep saying LinkedIn when I mean Letterboxd.
Hey, that's okay. We do have a Letterboxd account.
Yes, we do. We're not hiring, folks. Well, you know what? I'm not completely wrong. We don't have a LinkedIn, but we also don't maintain it. So But no, we'll be back next week with The Sixth Sense for another week of education. I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.